Why we cannot give Hamas what they want? Because Hamas is not only political terrorist group. Hamas is a religious terrorist group. If it was only political terrorist group, then we can put enough pressure on them where they get to the point where they compromise, drop their violence, then participate in the political process. But Hamas, you cannot bend them because they prefer to die and not to drop their ideology. Because the true authority above them is not the authority of the leader of the movement. It's the authority of their belief system. And this is one of the reasons why I went after their belief and people didn't like what I was doing. Because I questioned the God. Instead of going after Hamas, I went after the God that inspires Hamas, to question him or it. Anyway, this is a fundamental problem that we need to understand. Why Hamas cannot compromise, even though with all the bombing and the assassinations and the killing, they are not giving up. Because they think that they are holy warriors, that their holy and sacred mission in life is to destroy Israel, force 10 million Israelis to relocate as a condition to build their Islamic state and bring back Al-Aqsa Mosque. So this is impossibility. This means the destruction of the Middle East could be the destruction of the world. Hence, we cannot give them what they are asking for. Look at a much smaller scale. Yesterday, for example, Yahya al-Sinwar, an ex-prisoner that was released in the Gilad Shalit prisoner swap a few years ago, along 1,000 other Hamas prisoners. Soon later, after his release, he became the Hamas leader in Gaza Strip. Today, he orchestrated this attack on October 7th with one goal in his mind, not only Jewish slaughter and fear and violence that he meant to bring to the world. He meant, most importantly, to bring back hostages so he can blackmail Israel, blackmail the international community. And he knew if he could bring hostages, Israel would have to fight with a broken leg, broken arm, and a broken sword. This is how dangerous he is. So yesterday, this guy, Sinwar, hardcore guy, in fact, he beheaded somebody in prison for suspicion of collaborating with Israel using the sink of the bathroom. Merciless. This is the guy who's in charge of Hamas in Gaza today, and he's under the ground, most likely under Al-Shifa hospital, taking patients of a hospital as human shields to protect himself, while blackmailing Israel with civilians to release mass murderers. Just inconceivable. And I cannot believe, people still argue. This is not about right and wrong, who's right and who's wrong. We are dealing with pure evil. I don't know what language, what attitude I can express and deliver this. Anyway, he proposed to release the hostages, but in return, he wanted 5,000 terrorists be released from Israeli prison. Israel cannot afford this. And my heart breaks for the families of the hostages. It's such a complicated thing, and nobody can promise anything. But what I know for sure, that Israel as a democracy, first of all, it cannot repeat the mistake that it did with Hamas in the past when they negotiated with a terrorist group and agreed for prisoner swap. This is what happened in the past. The outcome of that swap was Yahya Sinwar, the guy who actually caused all this trouble. Now, Yahya Sinwar wants people like Ibrahim Hamid and Abdullah al-Barghouti, Hamas military wing masterminds who killed thousands of Israelis. The bomb makers and the masterminds behind some of the most brutal terrorist attacks against civilians. So Sinwar wants those guys out, hundreds of them. He wants them back on the streets. Who can afford this? You know, of course Israel is outrageous. Of course Israel is losing its mind. And they had to use a lethal force to deal with Hamas' problem. Because the amount of evil Hamas manifested is beyond the killing that you saw on October 7th. It's beyond that. So simply, we cannot do this, at least for now. At some point, we may. And I hope that Israel will have enough intelligence. And I'm sure if they do, they will try to go in a special operation within the ground operation that's happening right now. This gets them closer to target. And if they know about the location of the hostages, I am sure with the help of the United States, they would do whatever it takes to bring those hostages back, because we cannot release mass murderers back to the street, and we cannot give Hamas legitimacy. This is the biggest issue. They want to win time, and they know the game. They propose that we are ready to negotiate. What do you mean you're ready to negotiate? You picked up the fight. You started the war. And now you come into pose as the peacemaker, that you actually willing to negotiate. This is not the time for negotiations. It's not the time. Later, possibly, and never with Hamas directly. It has to be a through honest and legitimate mediator that cares for the lives of civilians. Qatar has been the wrong mediator in this issue because they take Hamas' side. And they have been fooling Israel. So later on, there could be time for negotiations. But right now, unfortunately, it's war. And what I would like from you to understand, it doesn't matter, you're Arabs, Muslims, non-Muslims, even Hamas supporters, whoever is listening right now, that Hamas is a great danger against the Palestinian people, first of all. It's a danger and a threat against the global security. What they did is leading to lots of violence. And if we don't stop them, if we fail to counter their agendas and their dangerous ideology, now, today, this campaign, this war, the next war will be deadlier. And we cannot afford this. Whatever it takes, even if this is going to take Iran's involvement, and they have been threatening, and Hezbollah involvement, we should not be scared of the consequences, because we haven't started this. And when I say we, I don't mean only Israel and myself as an ex-Shin Bet individual. I mean we as the free people. So we have to finish this job. We have to continue. We cannot stop. We cannot surrender or submit to the enemy. We fight them by the truth. And the truth shall prevail. Thank you.